Okay, so we're going to read the PT Leader article. And first of all, I want to start out by saying that I'm going to talk about someone new today that I haven't really talked about much online, which is Haley Truesdell. So I just want to say this in advance. Haley is a lovely person. She was kind to me, nice to me in person. She's never attacked me. She's never said anything nasty about me. I will not be posting memes. I won't be cropping her head and putting it on any sort of memeage. I won't be playing dirty in any way with Haley. I filed an ethics complaint against Haley because I believe that John Morrow and past and present city attorneys have pressured her to violate the law. And so she has chosen, either under duress or financial matters or whatever, to do what they say or go on her own. Okay? The public records that I have, I can only prove that Haley gave Libby Winstrom special privilege and didn't follow up. That Haley didn't communicate with me, even though in the newspaper it talks about her communicating with Brent Shirley. There's dozens and dozens of people that Haley was communicating with and giving public records to during the year that they were stonewalling me. They didn't communicate with me and they didn't give me public records. Yet they give them to others, including, Brent Shirley. It was in the paper. And so I have all that bad faith stuff for another conversation. I believe that Morrow told Haley not to respond to the public records to me. I believe she was pressured. I believe she was bullied. City council, attorneys, Morrow, Faber, Libby, whoever. However, I've not been able to obtain the public records to prove that. I have no way to prove that. The only records that I have point to Haley, including a declaration that she filed in court, probably under the duress of the city attorney. I don't know for sure. Where she stated that she had communicated with me when she didn't. I went into City Hall to pay a public records request. They should let you pay online. You can only go in between certain hours on Monday and Thursday, another way to keep people from getting public records. But anyway, she came into the room, very nice to me, explained things. We talked about the invoice and everything. And then I said, you guys must be really busy right now. She goes, oh, no, we're not really busy at all. So we weren't busy at all with public records. She said that. I've ordered the public record of the security cam of our conversation. And so far the city says it doesn't exist. Because what she put in her signed sworn declaration that we said, it didn't happen. Okay, so our conversation, right, so I had paid that day for public records between John Morrow and the city attorney. I didn't get them for till a year later. But when I left there, Haley was going to get them to me right away. Okay? Wow. Too hot lemon water there. Excuse me. And I didn't get them. And so I said to Haley, I'm kind of teared up because it really moved me. I said, how do you decide what records to give me? Because the other day you gave a record. So say there's a whole bunch of them. She pulled one out, a particular one, and gave me. And I needed it desperately for a situation to help somebody. And I didn't say that. I didn't prioritize it. I didn't nothing. I'm like, I really appreciate that. Like, how did you know to pick that one? And I was just really moved by it. She said, well, I can kind of see a pattern of what you're working on. And so what you're working on at the time is go in and get that one. Very cool. So I left there. Okay, so then that was in February of 2024. Then, at that time, I was in a lawsuit with the city. Universal Church of Light was suing the city for the incident action plan, unredacted, for the night of the press conference. And so we settled in March 6th. And part of that settlement, they wanted me to not share it with Julie Jamana, her attorneys, not post it online, which I said no, because, why would I want it if I can't share it? The idea is that making it public. It's a public record. They resisted for quite some time, many months, because they said that they didn't want it to get out because they were planning for terrorists. It turned out the terrorist they were planning for was Julie Jamal and Amy Sousa, which was stunning in itself. Anyway, so also in the settlement offer, they said, well, okay, well, we'll give you this amount of money and we'll give you the documents, but you have to agree to never sue the city again over public records, and there's 47 records pending, and you have to agree to not sue on any of them. And so acknowledging they knew they existed and that they hadn't been communicating with me on it. And I said, no, thank you. So then we settled, and then nothing. They didn't communicate a timeline for the next step. They didn't give me any records. They just still ignored me. So by the end of June 2024, Universal Church of Light, through our attorney and through me, Reverend Crystal Cox as director, sued the city. And so since June, they have been producing records. Well, actually, they ignored it for a couple months. They started producing records in August. There's still many records that are over a year old, like Libby still stonewalling records. So they acknowledged that they knew that they owed me a communication, and that showed in Haley's communications with Libby Winstrom, which I put in the complaint, Libby Winstrom complaint and the Haley Truesdale complaint. They acknowledged that. Just a little side note here, I know a lot about public records law in Washington, and it's a really big theme that what I'm doing is legal and good faith. I waited a year, I did everything right. The city did is against the law. So the only thing they can do, and it talks about it in all the different documentations, the only thing governments like Port Townsend can do is bully the requester, shame the requester, guilt the requester, like they've done in this article we're about to read. She's costing us money, she's costing us time, she's costing us delays. It's not true. They didn't communicate with me for a year. No other requester, all requesters are equal. No one has more rights than me. No attorneys, no newspaper, no one. You, as a requester, have equal rights to all other requesters. So, kind of lost my train of thought there. But at any rate, so we settled that in March 6th, and then they just completely ignored me until the lawsuit. Then they started producing things in August. Okay, and they, instead of just settling, they have stonewalled. We're like 8 months in, probably like $50,000 in attorney fees. And they wanted a mediation. They asked me for a mediation. But they wanted me to pay for it. And I can't. I don't have the money to pay for a mediation. So instead of them paying for a mediation, maybe a few thousand, a few hundred, I don't know how it works, they cost thousands of dollars more in loss in lawyers. So, because that was like last winter, so it's been months. So it's 60 public requests at $100 a day for a year. It adds up to about $1.2 million. And they've stonewalled for 8 months and denied it. And they said that I didn't have standing. I was Crystal Cox, and I wasn't Universal Church of Light. All the documents that I've ordered have Universal Church of Light on it. So that they love that standing issue. The same with the ethics complaint. That's what they said in our lawsuit. That I don't have standing as like a real church, right? I do. 14 years of it. Well, like 2014, so no, yeah, like 11 years. Anyway, there's the math. So I do have standing. They said that they acted in good faith, okay? I got pages and pages of where they didn't act in good faith. They say they didn't have the resources, okay? Heidi left the city attorney, they didn't have the resources, okay? That's only plausible if you weren't filling records for other people. But they were filling records for other people. And in order to prove undue burden, like you didn't have the resources, they would have had to show that their finances were down. I have lots of documents where they're bragging about how much money they're bringing in. Okay, permits, all kinds of things. So they have to show that they, I lost my train of thought. But in good faith, I've completely forgot that. Anyway, the city was not acting in good faith. So they had to put out that they were trying to hire someone. They would have had to prove that they didn't have any money. So they have to prove it. They said, well, Haley had other jobs, clerk jobs. Well, Ordinance 3293, in July of 2022, there was a Port Townsend city meeting where the city attorney came to the council and said, look, we're getting a lot of public records, so we need a dedicated public records officer that can no longer be the clerk. And so then the council voted on, okay, we're going to get a dedicated public records officer, then we're going to pay that person. So then they hired Haley Clements, who's now Haley Truesdell. Obviously, she got married. Congratulations. And she's a lovely person. Absolutely lovely person. This isn't about Haley. And the Haley complaint isn't about Haley. It's to force the hand of the lords down there to prove who ordered her to stop, to violate the law, and who pressured her to perjure herself. Okay? This isn't about Haley, but I had no choice but to direct it at Haley because I don't have any documents on anybody else. Okay, so they hired a public records officer so that no clerk. So then in Haley's declaration, she says she has clerk jobs. Well, she's not supposed to have clerk jobs. She says that everything was busy because Heidi left. Well, you were filling other people's. She lied and said she had communicated with me somehow outside of the next, like we just visited somewhere sometime, right? But the day I come into the city, I didn't say what she said I said. That just didn't happen. So it wasn't true what she put in the declaration. And I've tried to order the security cams to prove that. I've never talked to her outside of that. So I don't know who pressured her to do that. But it's not right. And so that's the Haley issue. I'm not going to, like I said, play dirty with Haley. Because Haley has been nothing but kind to me. She's not been disparaging. She's not been discriminating. She's been neutral. She knows her stuff. She's good at her job. Excellent. But whatever happened after February, whatever happened for her to get pressured or bullied or blackmailed or intimidated, she was up against something that she chose over doing the right thing by me. And I get it, whatever. But now she's going to have to be held accountable for that, and she's going to have to prove the documentation that it wasn't her and it was someone else. It is a felony to deliberately withhold public records. It is a felony to perjure yourself. So whoever pressured her to break the law, I hope that she does the right thing and that the public records turn up in the Haley Truesdell ethics complaint where she can prove that other people pressured her. Otherwise, she has to take the heat for it because I'm going to go all the way with criminal charges, with everything I can. And it's not about Haley, and it's too bad she's in the mix, but she is. All right, so we're going to burn a little sage and clean this room, cleanse the room you're in, all the negativity at City Hall, anything out there, any sort of negativity, and so it is done. All right, and because I am going to read a Port Townsend Leader article, I want to be really, really, really careful. So I'm going to start with licking a salt lamp because, that's what the counselors recommend. So, okay. And then to make really sure, I got my Himalayan salt, and we are going to make sure here that we get, okay. All right, so now that we're ready to read the leader, let's go. All right. So, Critic defends city requests and complaints. Oh, my sage is a little bit crazy over here. Excuse me. I guess it needed more cleansing. Doesn't want to stop. Okay, so I guess you guys need some more cleansing because the sage is like, we're not going to stop, dude. We're like not going to just stop this. Okay. Maybe I should draw you an angel card. Oh, clarity. Yep, that's what we're doing. Okay. All right. Well, we got to put a lid on this situation over here. Okay. Okay, is the room clean now? Jeez. Okay. By James Robinson. Okay, make sure and keep this all close. The Reverend, calls me the Rev. Okay, the Rev, Crystal Cox, and her Universal Church of Light has cast her ethics complaint net wide over recent days, with additional filings alleging ethics breaches against City Council members Amy Howard and Libby Winstrom, and against Public Records Officer Haley Truesdell. Those followed complaints filed against City Manager John Morrow and Mayor David Faber on March 2nd and February 28th. I filed Faber's on February 28th. The city ignored it. And Morrow said, oh, well, we don't have to answer it because she didn't file it properly, right? I filed it the same way as I did the prior Faber complaint and the prior Libby complaint. But every time I file a complaint, there's new rules. New rules! She did it again. There's new rules. So Morrow's like, the hearing officer sent me emails where Morrow emailed the clerk and he's like, well, we don't really have to answer, but, transparency and all. And then I filed one against him. Okay, so then they sent the complaints to Phil, the hearing officer, and Phil's like, oh, well, they're rewriting the policy, so we're going to wait and do it under the new policies. And I said, huh? The hell we are. I didn't say it like that, but I said, I object. I'm going to put all this in a video soon here. Because, first of all, Phil said, well, the city said they weren't filed properly, so I filed them properly. I refiled the complaints through the clerk. Clerk emailed me back and accepted them. Then they said, well, Phil's going to wait till after March 17th for the new rules. And I said, no, I filed them properly on this date. I expect the laws in place on this date to apply. And Phil's like, well, with this and with that and blah, blah, blah. And then the city's like, well, the new, and you'll see in my video that when council member Amy left the room, she said, well, this applies for reviews moving forward, right? Not past. Yes, says someone in the room. Then Ben asked the city attorney, and the city attorney said yes. At one point she said yes. Then she said, well, that will be up to Phil. Phil will decide that. Phil will decide that? The guy who can't independently investigate is going to decide whether it's the new rules or old rules? No. There's no reason to have a city attorney involved in this because she's not talking law. The law is, I did it properly on this date. The rules, ordinances, laws in place on this day are what applies, period, end of story. It's not negotiable. And I said that, but they kept going back and forth. So then, on the March 17th, when she's like, well, it's up to Phil. Then later she's like, well, no. And then Councilman Rose said, yeah, but we're going to let Phil know what we want, right? And so, and then, anyway, they went back and forth on it many times. Basically, it's Phil's, and then later the city attorney's like, yeah, I guess moving forward, and right. I'll kind of show you that progression. Then, fast forward to yesterday, and the city attorney messages Phil, the hearing officer, and says, all of the current complaints go under the old rules, and, so all of a sudden, then now it's her decision, and she lets Phil know. Yeah. The city's planned rewriting of its ethics complaint policy prompted the 3 most recent complaints. And then, of course, there's this, very handsome picture of me. The Reverend Crystal Cox sits down with an interview with the leader on Friday, March 14th. And they were very, very lovely. They were very kind to me. I cried several times. Very good people. Very neutral. They didn't take it easy on me. They give me the sass. But that's what you're supposed to do, right? Question me about some of my tactics and whatnot. But they were good about it. Okay, so the top says, to Critic, ends justify the means when filing complaints requesting public records. These 5 together are only because they are changing the rules, or I would have paced them out to allow the city to respond to each over time. Cox said, they have forced it to be now or not at all. Okay, so as you know, my mission here is to expose everything that happened in the Julie Jaman incident, because that's the same thing that happened in the Michael Almain homeless guy case. They use the same MO to go after whoever they want. What happened that night was not okay, and all of the public records I've seen of how horrible and prejudiced they were and special privilege and picking one community member over another, picking one belief over another, hiring public records to defend one side, using the police to defend one side, violating open meeting laws and letting one group in the back, keeping the other one out. Morrow met with one group privately, never met with Julie and Amy. This is not okay. And this is my mission, to expose them all. And I want them all to remove. I want a whole new city council, okay? What they did was despicable, and all the people that stood up for them doing it is despicable, and like I say in here, downright dirty, but it's demonic and dark and evil, and to keep justifying it, and the mayor's law firm protecting the felony assailants, felony charges against women, felony charges against an officer, just went away. Not okay with me. Not okay. Okay, so Cox was one of 4 items on the agenda for the 3 council members tasked with reviewing the policy in place since 2017, which then proposed changes. Like, I'm on an agenda. I'm an agenda matter. Well, we got to talk about that Cox complaint. Why? Because I'm the only one since 2017, the ethics change, that's filed one. And every time I've filed it, they've changed the rules. Filed the Libby one, they ignored it for 3 months. Jenny Ellison messaged Amy Howard. Amy Howard, I'm alleging, talked to Morrow and pressured him. Morrow let it through. Okay? Morrow put in the code. Apparently Phil's got the right and they're going to pay him. And it's all good. Then the Faber ethics complaint last summer of 2024, all of a sudden, we don't have a contract with Phil to do that. So they got to rewrite the rules. They got to get a new contract. What? So every complaint, there's new rules, right? Nothing suspicious about that. Okay. The Port Townsend City Council voted to approve numerous reviews on Monday, March 17th meeting, while at least adding one more. And we'll talk about that in another one. The final version will make it harder for Cox and others to file complaints. The new policy requires the complainant to either reside in or own a business in the city. Cox is not a resident, and her Universal Church of Light had a business license which expired in September 2022. She said she would renew her business license if need be. So yeah, when I went to that event downtown, I had a business license in town. So I have standing. I've renewed it now. This hullabaloo, I've renewed it now. It's easy. Any nonprofit can get a business license in Port Townsend for free. You just go online. I paid last time because I didn't know that. Paid like $80 or something. And but this time when I did it, they said, oh, well, nonprofits get it for free. So if you're any nonprofit in the county, just get a business license in town. Outstanding. They say if you pay taxes in town, you have standing. We all pay taxes in town. Even if you never go to Port Townsend, never go to any event, never go to any store, you still pay it. I have some articles, some information documents out there explaining the standing, right? The city doesn't even have a jail. The county pays for the city's jail. Our sales tax, our property tax, the health board, the county pays for the city. But they don't, Alex Kenyon's like, well, you got standing and you got to pay taxes. We all do, okay? We all have standing. But even if they don't count that, I had a business in town. The right across from Owl Sprit in the pizza building is where I have my Goddess Church. I had my driver's license. I lived in a house in town for 6 years. So they're saying prior residence, whatever. I lived in a car downtown for many, many years. Unless there's a new rule for the homeless, too, because, you got to live in the city limits. Plus, people who get permanent events in town are doing business with the city. Okay, Amy lives out of town. She filed a permit with the city of Port Townsend for her permanent event. It's doing business with the city. So their little monkeying around with the ethics change doesn't exclude anybody. And it certainly doesn't exclude me. So it just made a spectacle showing that they're going to fight like heck to not have transparency and accountability. And defend their own, oh, we don't have to let people into the meeting. We can do what we want. We're bullies. We're right thinking, you're wrong think sort of game. Meanwhile, the rule council added was that people who filed a complaint need to have done business or been previous residents of the city to have standing. All right. While Cox sees herself as a champion of the people, city staff and elected officials see her as a bully, a serial harasser, and an abuser of the state sunshine laws. Okay, so I don't know who the city staff is that thinks that I'm a bully, because when I've been down there, the clerks, everybody I see when I go in, they are the most wonderful, nice, kind, smart people. So city staff can also mean Mr. Morrow, who's a demon, right? Who lied about the permit process. Oh, well, Amy didn't want police. And then at the second event, but those people that had the second event, they did want police. No, we put the same thing on the form for the second event. Morrow lied, okay? Morrow deliberately didn't separate the groups. An hour before our event, there's an email between him and Olson that they were going to separate the groups. 80-year-olds, rape survivors, lesbians, old folks. They didn't even separate the groups, knowing Antifa would be there and hundreds of other people. Officer Cam says an hour and a half before the event, they are talking about the 100 people coming down Memorial Hill confirmed Antifa. Amy Howard laughed. Oh, Antifa doesn't exist, and they were here. The crowd laughed at us. They laughed at our pain. They laughed at our blood. They laughed at our assaults. They laughed at our mental health, our beliefs, everything about us, okay? So Morrow may be what they're talking to when they say, city staff thinks she's a bully. Oh, right. It's like someone walks up to you, hits you in the face, you hit back or you try to get away, and you're the problem. And that's what people do with me online, right? They come at me, and they say nasty, nasty. And so I make a meme, and I highlight their nasty, and I make fun of it, okay? Then they go get a protective order, then they go to police. I'm saying I'm harassing them because I defended myself against them. Okay? That's how they roll. Okay. The principal argument in the complaints have been generated by Cox's prolific public records campaign, which dates back several years. Also, check out Michael Allmain, casechronology.blogspot.com. Thousands of documents there as well. It's not my first rodeo. The cost of processing those requests adds up based on staff salaries and the sheer number of requests. Okay, so that's where it comes in that they're bullying you. They can only bully you. I'm obeying the law. I and you, as any requester, have a right to order as many requests as you want, do anything you want with them. They have a duty and an obligation to follow the law. Port Townsend, excellent. Okay, Jeffcom 911, excellent. Other people in the area know how to do it. The city doesn't know how to do it. Okay, not only that, they go on social media and bully the requester. Okay, Libby Winstrom, all the counselors bullying. She's getting requests. That's my legal right and your legal right. Okay, as far as costing them, I don't really know what's costing them staff. They have a dedicated public records officer. They can take as long as they want to fill the records if they obey the law and communicate with the requester. They didn't. Okay, so this is all just bull about me costing city staff money. They have someone they hired full-time for public records officer. If they need another person, then they should hire another person. If they have undue burden, they have to prove they have undue burden. Okay? So all of this is just to try to bully me and you requesters out there to not file requests, okay? But you have a right to, and the only thing they can do is bully you and shame you and guilt you. I operate within the law. They operate outside the law and with tyranny and bullying tactics and hive mind and shutting down your beliefs in people, okay? So I'm good faith, they're bad faith. And I can prove it and have proven it. Okay, so no offense to city finance or whatever, but that's the law. The Public Records Act is the law. Oh, the law we do. What about Evans Street, Vista? What about Cherry Street? What about all of these money, $500,000 to a consultant is something you're never going to do. Money you throw out to all your buddies and all these things. Oh, we don't look at any of that. It's that Cox who's, obeying the law that's there, the Public Records Act. She's the one costing the city money and she's the problem. Call the bullshit. Call the bullshit. Okay. In 2024, Cox filed 83 of the 464 requests, 17%. So what? I can file 1,000 of them. I can file hundreds of them a day. So what? That's the law. If you don't like the law, petition the law, change the law. Don't bully me for obeying the law when you're not obeying the law. Okay. In 2023, Cox filed 117 to 500, so that's 21%. So what? If you're really investigating something, every public record leads to another question. Every day since August 15th, 2022, the event, I have been researching this for books, for documentaries, for civil rights lawsuits, for victims' rights lawsuits, for felony hate crime complaints, and a myriad of other things to hold them all for accountability. I have a right to do that. I could be 99% of the public records requester in any jurisdiction. It's the law. If you don't like the law, petition the law. If you don't like the law, change the law. Don't bully the requester. I obey the law, and I acted in good faith. I'm not the bad guy here, but they want to publicly shame me, the requester, to try to get me to not request and to feel sorry for them because they have to process it. That's the law. That's their job. Okay, so all 5 ethics complaints, according to the filings, share similar traits. Allegations of violations of the Open Public Meetings and the Open Records Act, special privilege, breaches of fiduciary duty, conflicts of interest, bullying, discrimination, and others. Yep. People read the paper, like last summer with the Faber one, say I have no evidence, how bad and horrible I am, and all these nasty things about me. Extortionists, they don't research my First Amendment case. They just say I'm bad, I'm a convicted swindler. They don't research anything that was in the ethics complaint. They just say, she has no credibility and provided no evidence. Call them bullshit. Call them bullshit on that one. So, Okay, the recent complaints all total span nearly 200 pages and include text messages, Facebook posts, emails, video evidence, and links to law enforcement body cam footage. Cox pushed to get the complaints in before March 17th so they could be reviewed under the old rules. But many of the allegations date back to 2022 and events surrounding the Julie Jamon incident at the YMCA municipal pool and subsequent protests. Other allegations are linked as recent as 24 and 25. So why am I getting new stuff? Well, new stuff kind of pops up. And the reason I did the golf course thing, which the paper, different things don't say, I dismissed that. Okay, and real quick on that one, the reason I dismissed that claim is because the hearing officer, got to do an independent investigation, and he talked to the city planner, and he found that it wasn't finalized. Faber and Morrow were out there talking to the public as if it was finalized. I thought it was finalized, so I dismissed it. Okay, another reason he should be able to do that. But as far as 24 and 25, yeah. And there'll always be something that turns up, okay? I do not believe that Faber should be in leadership. He said in private messages that he's a social masochist. He gets off on pain, okay? He attacked us. He called us TERFs. He incited violence against us. He interacted with Antifa before the event, the same ones that were there, because they were on Twitter in real time. He laughed at our pain. He bullies us online. He's not fit to lead. So yeah, as long as Faber's on city council and in leadership role, I'm going to keep digging up stuff to try to get Faber removed from leadership because he's so dark. Same thing with Morrow, same thing with Libby. I had hope for Amy, but boy, has she turned nasty. And what she did with the paper and what she said, so yeah, Amy needs to go too. Neil Nelson is what we call in Montana a lump on a log. Okay, he just sat there during the whole March 17th thing. He's don't got nothing to say. He's just a Faber lackey. You can see that he was friends with Faber before. Only thing he did say, there should be a penalty. You should punish the ethics person, the person trying to get justice. He's useless on the council. Owen Rowe, he seems to be smart and kind of know his stuff, but he doesn't understand the ethics process. He didn't follow any of it. He probably hasn't read the complaints. He doesn't know anything about it, and he needs to go. Okay, Monica, because the other people had to leave the room on March, has shown that she is got a lot of anger issues and control issues, and she went at Ben like they were an old married couple. She was very abusive to him, and said things like, the person filing a complaint should put in some effort, right? 3 years nearly, every day. I've sent them so many reports on what I found. And she's like, we got to put in effort. What does effort look like, Monica? Well, this page here, these 5 pages, and you got to do it just as we say. Oh, so dumb it down, and that's effort to Monica. Okay, note to self. Lots more on that later. Okay, so Cox pushed to get the complaints in before March 17th so they could be reviewed under the old rules. Okay, then the allegations. Okay, Cox said the filings point to a myriad of wrongdoing on the part of city staff and elected officials and form an interconnected web of deceit, mismanagement, bad government, and corruption. In terms of Cox's current focus on city government, she points to certain members of city council and the city manager's handling of events surrounding the Jamon case, which involved Jamon being banned from the YMCA after confronting a trans person. From Cox's perspective, Morrow and members of the council involved in the protests and counter-protests, Jamon's ban from the YMCA, Faber's handling of city council meetings, memos and emails all point to a hive mind mentality and a conspiracy to crush any opposition to the supposed groupthink. And y'all know that's true. Y'all know it is. Is this still recording? Okay. Okay, it was all ideology and emotion, Cox said. It was stunning! It was stunning! Why? What? Just let those old ladies speak, shut up, and then, people talk downtown about all kinds of nonsense. I don't get all my friends to go yell at them, I just go home. What you did was wrong. Jeez. Okay, I'm going to do that. It was all ideology and emotion, Cox said. It was stunning, this hive mind. I have used the legal process in place. Don't bully people for using the legal process in place to expose the truth of what public officials are doing in private to hurt the public at large. Cox said she filed one ethics complaint in 2023 and one in 2024, hardly an abuse. What they've done is something downright dirty, added Cox, and she said she wasn't afraid to play dirty too, and she's not. You come at me, I respond. I'm not going out there on all your pages and bullying you and going at you. I'm talking about city officials. You came at me. I respond, you go to the police, you go get a protective order. You're the bad guy. Okie dokie. Okay, one in 2023, one in 2024. Hardly an abuse. What they've done is something downright dirty, adding she wasn't afraid to play dirty too. What's the benefit of getting dirty? Hurting people that hurt. So what I mean by that is they do it. You do it back to them. They have an issue. They are downright nasty, horrible, and evil. People have permanent damage. People have PTSD. People are tortured and tormented, and mental tort in law they call it. They're okay with that. But if any of us speak up, we're the bad guys. We're the bullies. We're playing dirty. Not true. Okay. So, okay. I go every single way I can to remove these people in power any way I can. Yes, as I just explained a little bit ago. Definitely. Okay, yeah. Jody Adams, the city's finance director, said it's difficult to fully quantify the cost of processing Cox ethics complaints. Okay, well, I send them in, and they've added a bunch more costs. So now the city clerk has to go through it. So instead of it just going to the city manager, who's already paid $1 gazillion, and just forwarding it to Phil, okay, and paying Phil, now they're going to have city staff go over. So they're adding a whole bunch of costs to the process and blaming me, okay? I'm calling out big issues, millions of dollars of liability and issues they've created. And I'm costing whatever Phil is at $165 an hour, okay? They have all these people in place. This is their stated job. They're already there, supposed to do this job. But apparently there's an issue when I put something in where they have to do their job. So whatever they're paying to process my ethics complaints, okay, one in 1 year, one in another year. And what about all the liability out there, Faber, Libby, and just trashing me and trashing Brent Shirley? You file a complaint and they bully you? Something's fishy here, folks. Something's fishy. And that's for you all to figure out and, get some new leadership. Okay, earlier complaint. When asked specifically to quantify Cox's summer 2024 ethics complaint against Faber, Adams estimated the previous Faber complaint, at 75 hours and about $6,000. Adams said the city pays hearing examiner $165 an hour. Okay, right, so, but if city council had any integrity at all, they would look at my complaint and say, yes, Faber should have recused. My bad. Give him a slap on the wrist, move on. Golf course stuff, just addressed what I said. It was factual, it was there. I put case law, just go, yeah, okay, here's this, here's that. And here's how we're going to do better, and here's how we're going to communicate better. Move on. They're fighting it, they're lying about it, is what caused the thing with Phil. Faber coming in and causing all kinds of issues cost more hours with Phil. The city saying, well, Phil don't have a contract, cost more hours with Phil. Okay, so whatever they paid Phil, they caused more of that, okay? It could have just been looked over and moved forward, but council digs in, just like they're doing with Universal Church of Light against the city, our public records case. They're probably, who knows, they're probably being hundreds of thousands of dollars just in attorney fees because they violated the law. They know they violated the law. It's right there in black and white. They could have made a settlement in the first month, but instead they're costing the city massive attorney fees because they're like, oh, we didn't do it. Like, bad faith. Like, she doesn't have any standing. Like, we're, like, innocent and, like, And every time they do that, it costs not $165 an hour. The attorneys involved in my case are probably hundreds of dollars an hour. So, yeah. Okay. Cox makes no apologies. No, she doesn't. That's their job. That's what they're hired to do. They already got the system in place. You apologizing for your $500,000 consultant fees that go nowhere to all your buddies? Or Evans Vista, or the millions in Cherry Street, or the millions that you throw around all your stupid stuff like art that looks like somebody ate a tree and threw it up. Everybody hates the art downtown. You force it on us. You cut all the trees down downtown. You put trees that you don't even take care of. I'm a forester. Those trees down by the Cotton Building, could you trim them? Could you trim off the dead even once every 5 years? You've ruined everything downtown. You've ran out the buskers, okay? Just ew. Ew. Okay, Cox makes no apologies. Right. As for abusing the ethics process, I have exposed that it is worthless. It is. There's no way for you to get remedy. And that's what I'm exposing. I report on real city code violations, and all were thrown under the rug, Cox said. Cox also filed an ethics complaint against Winstrom in 2023, but later withdrew it. Okay, I withdrew the Libby Winstrom complaint because I couldn't get the public records. I didn't get them till a few weeks ago. The lawsuit, it took that long, nearly a year, to get the public records. The city wouldn't give me the public records to prove what it came down to with Phil that was sufficient. I had to dismiss the complaint. Okay. Meanwhile, Libby's out there defaming me, bullying me, got all the Salish Rescue, got protective orders against me, going to court and bullying me with my victims advocacy, defaming me online, sending messages to the prosecutor to try to convict me for contempt of court for putting out hearings that are public records, at me. All very ethical, though, of course. Okay. The Faber complaint, however, triggered Faber's vitriol, and led to Faber and his associates posting on social media that Cox is a mentally ill online serial harasser. In a recent interview, Cox countered that she has been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder following events surrounding the Julie Jamon protests. Yeah, and those in the know that I didn't go out probably for the first week. Many of the women didn't go out for months. When I did go to the store, I live cam because people were still bullying me and still at me. I was very traumatized. I blacked out after I spoke, and that's how I met the Free Press people, because I was against the wall, blacked out, and they held me up. And from the perspective of outside, it's just the mosh pit, and then nothing happened to those girls, but we were kicked and hit and traumatized and screamed at, and you could hear the screaming, and then we, still for days. And then we'd see them in the stores and see them in the streets, and then no remedy, Alex French, no charges, and the city still at us. And then that Jason Serenus every now in the paper, if he's talking about golf course or, some festival or anything, he just threw Julie Jamon under the bus again and again and again. So they never let up on us. My PTSD, after the event, I had one so bad at the dentist that I had to go to the hospital to get my blood pressure down. Because of the masks and all these masked people at us and screaming and bullying, and it really set something off in me and in a lot of the women. And a lot of you out there are like, you discount what we experienced in our pain. But yeah, I have mental health issues over it. And a broken heart. It's the Pride community. I've been here for 10 years. I've been good to people. I didn't do nothing to you guys. Watching you do that to an 80-year-old woman and rape survivors, it broke my heart. And once I could get it together again, and then our second event, I was so shooken, and I felt okay because I had protection, but I was shaking the whole time. And I roared, protected by conservatives, Washington 3% and Proud Boys. And I found my voice again. And I dug in, and I've been at this for 3 years to point out what you monsters did, and yeah, I got mental health issues from it. Yeah. But Faber, his mental health issues are sick and dark. Mine are precious and light. Anywho, I'm going to probably need some more salt here. All right. Where were we? I have never been institutionalized nor deemed any mental health issue that is harm to the public in any way, wrote Cox. Been called crazy my whole life, just as most women who speak their mind, talk about their lived experience, expose their abuses and the system that protect them. My brilliance scares and shocks them, so they, not medical professionals, deem me mentally ill for their own narrative. which is a violation of the ADA. They're making fun of people with mental disabilities. They made fun of rape survivors. They made fun of women that were traumatized. Being labeled mentally ill is common occurrence from public officials who don't like what is being said, Cox said. Look at history. Many diagnosed in this world by public opinion or by those who are being exposed as they diagnose them as mentally ill are the savants, the great inventors, the front leaders on issues the public does not yet understand. Cox added that either what I post is true, the facts speak for themselves. Do you even read the facts, or you just go after the messenger over and over and over? In addition to the ethics complaint, Cox said she sees a civil suit against the city on the horizon. She described the city's ethics complaint process as a sham. It is a sham. And added that a civil rights lawsuit is the only way to achieve satisfaction. Yes. And they've made it now with all their standing and all their issues. You can't go to the city and go, gosh, my feelings got hurt or this thing happened. And they go, oh, okay, well, let's deal with it. Instead, now you have to have a costly lawsuit because they don't want to listen. They don't want to hear it. Okay, signature recording. Uh-oh. I hear the po-po coming for me. I don't have an attachment to the outcome, said Cox. I don't. I have a calling. I do what I'm inspired to do and what I feel the Spirit leads me to do. And whether you think it's the right way to do it or not, that's on you. That's not on me. It's a spiritual calling for me. I'm exposing the system. My dad was a powder monkey. So he worked for a logging company, and he'd go in these giant rock cliffs, right? You can't get a road through. And he would blow up the rock. And then people would come in and clean it up, and then they'd build the road. Kind of liken myself to that, a powder monkey. Where, let's make sure this is still going, where I come in and I'm breaking the system up, a systems buster, and y'all can come in and clean it up. How I do that is lawful. I'm using the laws in place. If I'm not, please, file criminal charges against me and let's adjudicate it. But don't just bully me in the paper and on social media. Go, she's wrong, she's illegal, she's an extortionist, she did all these bad things. Okay, well, let's litigate it. Because I didn't. And Obsidian versus Cox was a civil case. There was no criminal charges. And if you think there was, prove it. Keep defaming me now that you know, and I'm going to file lawsuit after lawsuit. On that note, I will be suing Libby Winstrom. It is really difficult to prove actual malice. Almost impossible to prove that someone knew what they were saying was false before they said it. I put it in her ethics complaint. It's going to be in a lawsuit. I proved that she knew that it was not illegal for me to post court hearings. Kennedy told her, Prosecutor Kennedy, I have it in chats. And she said, well, I was trying to get criminal charges. Not criminal. She knows. Then she goes online and says it was a crime that I posted illegal hearings. That's actual malice. Times versus Sullivan. Welch versus Gertz. That's pretty cut and dried. Also intend to file a lawsuit against Judge Mindy Walker. Real hard to file a lawsuit against a judge because they have immunity. But not if they violate your constitutional rights. Almost impossible to prove they violated your constitutional rights. But Judge Mack, in Superior Court, in my appeal at one of the Sailors Rescue protective orders, flat out stated that what Judge Mindy Walker did violated my state and federal civil rights. Constitutional rights, I mean. So, I intend to file that. I intend to fight back and stand up for my rights. And where it goes, it goes. So, I don't have an attachment to the outcome. Cox said, my passion is to give people a voice. It's an absolute spiritual calling. It's all spiritual, every day, in every way. No matter what you think of what I do, it's all spiritual for me. There's nothing I gain from it other than knowing I'm doing the right thing. This isn't about me. I've never needed to be a hero. This is my grand finale. This is my grand finale, and it's going to be glorious. Okay. Cox is no stranger to going after powerful people and facing consequences. Okay, so I have a video online. I think I'll reshare that again on my Port Townsend news page. I've shared it there before about the whole Obsidian case. Okay, but I was my own attorney in the lower court, and in the Ninth Circuit appeal, a constitutional law professor at UCLA Law, Eugene Volokh, was my attorney. and I won. I won a landmark decision, a landmark precedence. So before my case, big media had a monopoly on free speech. After my case, now all online speakers, all bloggers, citizen journalists, whistleblowers have equal rights to the highest paid journalist in the wealthiest of institutions. Retraction laws also apply to all online speakers. Shield laws apply. I won this right. In this case that had never been done before because everyone else caved, also is the right to break the news, not just report the news as a citizen journalist, but to break the news, all in that case. And so it's a landmark case, and the win is all out there. Even though Faber's an attorney, right, and his other attorney buddies, they like to say all these horrible things about me from the New York Times article that it was an opinion, and the New York Times was, didn't like me. Instead of the actual facts that I won my appeal, and it was a landmark, first of its kind free speech case that changed the world. Okay? That never needed to come up in any of the stuff I was doing to fight for Julie Jamon. None of it. They brought it up in the lie, so I've been pointing out the truth. Okay, and so then, when asked about her tactics, Cox said she felt compelled to expose Patrick, Obsidian, and his colleagues at Obsidian because of the financial harm she alleged they caused. And in the Obsidian case, too, the victims were 40 real estate consumers. So there was a couple hundred of them. It was $40 million of real estate consumers' money. I was a real estate broker. I was also an industry whistleblower. And so I was standing up for the real estate victims. They violated bankruptcy law flat out. The trustee, Patrick, worked for the Summit 1031 Exchange Company, where the real estate consumers got harmed. He was helping them to restructure. Then he jumped the fence and was the trustee on the other side of the case. You can't do that. The bankruptcy law he broke was illegal. He hospitalized my source, put her in a mental institute, and nearly killed her. This was a nasty, whole drawn-out thing. Okay, it's certainly not what Faber thinks it is. But the interesting thing is that the bad guys, besides Obsidian, the bad guys here, working with him to do the dirty, was Perkins Coie, which is where Faber started his law. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. The truth is the truth, Cox said. If it bankrupts your business, oh well. Truth is the truth. If it bankrupts your business, oh well. People want to be out there going, I want to do dirty, nasty things, and I don't want nobody to tell about it. And if somebody tells about it, then that's them ruining my business and my reputation. And then Libby's out there going, well, it doesn't do any good for me to sue her because she's already got judgments against her, defamation. No, don't have defamation judgments against me. But here's why you should sue me. If you don't like what I say online, and I'm like, hey, it's all true, and you're like, it's not true, then you sue me for defamation, and you prove it's not true. And it doesn't matter if you can't get money out of me, Libby and the gang. The courts will force me to remove the content if it's not true. So if it's not true, prove it, and let's go. Bring it. Okay? Anyway, bye for now. Love y'all.